So we are dealing with numerical value or integer type problem of JEE Advanced 2020. Let us deal with the first one. Put a uniform meter scale horizontally on your extended index fingers with the left one at 0 centimeter and the right one at 90 centimeter mark. When you attempt to move both the fingers slowly towards the center, initially only the left finger slips with respect to the scale and the right finger does not. After some distance, the left finger stops and the right one starts slipping. Then the right finger stops at a distance xr from the center, which is at 50 centimeter mark of the scale, and the left one starts slipping again. This happens because of the difference in the frictional force on the two fingers. If the coefficient of static and dynamic friction between the fingers and the scale are zero point 0.4 and 0.32 respectively, then we have to determine the value of xr in centimeter. So if we begin approaching this problem, so we first of all need to understand that when the scale is being discussed, so this one is a 1 meter long scale that is initially held in equilibrium at two contact points, that is left end and the right end, which is at 90 centimeter mark, and the entire weight of the scale is acting at its center, which is at 50 centimeter mark. So I can mark the distances like this. And I am referring this one as normal reaction force N1 and this one as normal reaction force N2. So at the given condition over here, the value of normal reaction forces and weight can be balanced as N1 plus N2 is equal to weight of the rod or the scale. This becomes the first equation. So if I balance torque from the 0 centimeter mark, then I can say that W into 50 is equal to N2 into 90, and we obtain N2 is equal to 5W by 9. So this is from equation number 2, and hence I can say that N1 is equal to 4W by 9. So this is when both the scales are kept in equilibrium, balanced on the left and the right fingers respectively. Now what is happening is that we start sliding the left finger. So if we start sliding the left finger, then I am redrawing the scale back again. So if we consider this scale once again, so I am considering that after sliding by a distance x, the left finger is now in this position, that is n1 dash, at a distance of 50 minus x from the center of the scale, where the entire weight of the scale is acting, where the right finger is still unmoved, and over here the normal reaction force is n2 dash. It is 10 centimeter from the other end of the scale, and this distance is 40 centimeter. So this time if we again write the equation or frame the formulation, then on balancing torque I can write that W into 40 is equal to N1 dash 40 plus 50 minus X, and we have balanced torque this time from the right finger end, that is this part, from 90 centimeter mark. And on solving we attain a value that is N1 dash is equal to 40W by 90 minus X, and hence N2 dash can be attained as W minus of 40W by 90 minus X. So from here I can say that these are the two values of normal reaction force, which I am writing as equation A and B respectively. Now if I again read the problem over here, it is saying that the static and dynamic value of friction is 0.4 and 0.32 respectively. So this implies that when the left finger was moving, there was kinetic friction acting between N1 and the scale, that is left finger and the scale, and the static friction was acting on the right finger or the scale, and the equilibrium is possible only if the two frictional values balances each other out. And hence I can frame the equation in this way, that the friction offered on the left finger is equal to the friction offered on the right finger, and the left finger will be attaining the friction value as such that, so on balancing frictional force we can write the equation as 4 by 10 times of W 1 minus 40 upon 90 minus X is equal to 32.32, that is by 100 times of 40 W by 90 minus X. So we attain an equation like this, and from here on solving we attain X is equal to 18 centimeter. Now this is a very important part in the problem where we come to know that the left finger slide by a distance of 18 centimeter and comes to a halt. Now we will be moving the right finger towards the center of mass, and I'm again redrawing this arrangement. So this time the scale arrangement is going to look like this, that the left finger is slid through 18 centimeter and come to a point where the normal reaction force is acting in this direction, which we are marking as N1 double dash, and the right finger on sliding have reached a point where we are marking the normal reaction force as N2 double dash, such that the distance of the right finger from the center of mass is XR, and hence from this end of the rod will be 50 minus XR, where the entire weight of the scale is acting. And since it slid through 18 centimeters, so the distance of left finger from the center of the scale is 32 centimeter. So this is the final FBD of the scale that we are seeing after the right finger is slid towards the center of mass. And now if we start writing the equation, then I can say that N1 double dash plus N2 double dash is equal to weight of the scale. This one we are marking as equation number C. And again if I balance torque, then I can write that N1 double dash 32 plus XR is equal to W times of XR. So we are balancing torque from the N2 point, and from here we attain that N1 double dash is equal to WXR upon 32 plus XR, which we are marking as equation number 3. And if we substitute the value, we attain N2 double dash as W minus of WXR by 32 plus XR. So this we are marking as 4. Now again for equilibrium it is necessary that the friction on the two ends balance each other out, and hence we are applying frictional force equation, that is 0.32, that is 32 by 100 times of W 1 minus XR by 32 plus XR is equal to 0.40, that is 40 by 100 into WXR upon 32 plus displacement from the center, and over here we attain 128 is equal to 5 of X of R, where X of R is equal to 128 by 5, that is 25.6 centimeter respectively. So I am once again going through this entire problem and explaining you in gist what exactly happened. So initially the left finger was moving while the right finger was not moving, and as a result of which we say that the kinetic friction is acting between the left finger and the scale, whereas the static friction is maintained between the right finger and the scale, which makes sure that the net force on the scale is balanced by the two frictional forces, and we attain when the left finger will start sliding, that is at 18 centimeter mark, post which the right finger starts sliding, and hence this time the kinetic friction is acting between the right finger and the scale, and the static friction is supplied by the left finger and the scale, and we see that it comes to equilibrium after at a distance of 25.6 centimeter from the center, where the right finger comes to a halt. So this is the required answer for this particular problem, that is 25.6. Let us deal with the next problem. When water is filled carefully in a glass, one can fill it to a height h above the rim of the glass due to the surface tension of water. To calculate h just before the water starts flowing, model the shape of the water above the rim as of a disc of thickness h having semicircular edges as shown symmetrically in the figure. When the pressure of water at the bottom of this disc exceeds what can be withstood due to the surface tension, the water surface breaks near the rim and water starts flowing from there. So this is going to give us the working formula. When the pressure of water at the bottom of this disc exceeds what can be withstood due to the surface tension, the water will start flowing from there. And then the data is given to us that if the density of water, its surface tension and the acceleration is given, then we have to determine the value of h in millimeter. So we begin from this statement that pressure at bottom of disk must be equal to pressure due to surface tension. So if we are equating the two pressures, then we obtain an expression like rho g h is equal to T 1 by R1 plus 1 by R2, where R1 is much greater than R2 and R2 is equal to H by 2. So from here we attain an expression that rho g h is equal to T 0 plus 1 upon H by 2. So we get an expression like this, from where we attain h square is equal to 2t by rho g, or h can be written as square root of 2t by rho g. So if we substitute the values, that is 2 into 0.07 by 1000 into 10, we will attain the value of h in meter. In millimeter, we are attaining a value equal to root over 14 millimeter, that is 3.741 millimeter. So this is the answer for this particular problem. Let us move to the next one. One end of a spring of negligible unstretched length and spring constant K is fixed at the origin. A point particle of mass m carrying a positive charge q is attached at its other end. The entire system is kept on a smooth horizontal surface. When a point dipole phi vector pointing towards the charge q is fixed at the origin, the spring gets stretched to a length L and attains a new equilibrium position. If the point mass is now displaced slightly by delta L, where delta L is much smaller than L from its equilibrium position, and released, it is found to oscillate at a frequency 1 by delta root over k by m. We have to determine the value of delta. So before we start solving the problem, one important point is the unstretched length of the spring is negligible. And the another important point is delta L is very small in comparison to the capital L from its equilibrium position. So we will be using these two aspects, and hence I can say that this L is entirely because of the elongation that is produced because of the repulsion between the dipole and the charge q. So if I write the electric field due to a dipole and the force which the charge experiences due to it, so we can write that the spring force is balancing the electrostatic force between the dipole and the charge to bring equilibrium at a length L. That is, spring force will exert a force KL, which is equal to twice of kpq by L cube, where electric field due to the dipole is equal to 2 kp by L cube. So we equate the two forces, and this becomes our first equation, that is equation number 1, that is KL is equal to 2 kpq by L cube. Over here it must be noted that this K over here is the Coulomb constant. I am making it as K naught. So for the next time in the problem, we will be referring it as K naught, not because we are using spring constant as K. Now on elongation, now if we elongate the spring by additional length delta L, where delta L is very small in comparison to the length L, so I say that the net force now that is going to act will be given as a spring force minus the force of repulsion due to the electrostatic repulsion between the dipole and the charge q, and we write it as K L plus delta L minus of 2 kp q upon L plus delta L cube. So we get an expression like this, and now we are modifying this expression, that is K L plus delta L. So this Coulomb constant over here, the K we are using is K naught minus of 2 K naught PQ. We are taking L cube over here common, and then we are left with 1 plus delta L by L cube. And in the next step, we are using the next part that is given to us, that is delta L is very small in comparison to L. So if we use this, we can write it as K L plus delta L minus 2 K naught PQ by L cube 1 minus 3 times of delta L by L. So we have used binomial approximation over here, that is we can write this term as 1 plus delta L by L to the power minus 3 in denominator, and since delta L by L is very small, so we are taking this 3 into the expression, and now this can be written as KL plus K delta L minus twice of K naught PQ by L cube minus 3 into 2, that is 6 K naught PQ by L cube delta L upon L. Now from the equilibrium equation that we have, we have attained that KL is equal to 2 K naught PQ by L cube, and hence I can say that these two expressions are same and they two will cancel each other out. The two expressions are same and they two will cancel each other out, and I can write this expression as, this expression can be written as thrice of kx, from here, that is we can write it as KL 2 K naught PQ by L cube can be written as thrice of KL or thrice of KX. So we are writing it as thrice of KX, that is spring force. So our expression is now reduced to that the net force, which will be also the restoring force acting on the spring, is equal to K delta L. This expression will be plus 3KL delta L upon L. So we attain the value that is equal to 4K delta L. Since it is restoring, we are using a negative sign now for this entire expression, and we are equating it with MA. So over here we attain that A is equal to minus 4K upon N root over square delta L, and that is the time period from here can be written as 2 pi root over M by 4K, or the expression for frequency can be written as 1 by pi root over K by M. So if we compare this with the given expression in the problem, that is 1 by pi root over K by M, so we are attaining from here that the value of delta is equal to pi, that is 3.14. So for this particular problem, the answer is 3.14. Let us move to the next problem. So in the next problem, it is stating, consider 1 mole of helium gas enclosed in a container at initial pressure P1 and volume V1. It expands isothermally to volume 4V1. After this, the gas expands adiabatically and its volume becomes 32V1. The work done by the gas during the isothermal and adiabatic expansion processes are W iso and W adiabatic respectively. And if the ratio is given to us W iso by W adiabatic as F times of ln2, then we have to find F. So if we start approaching this problem, the first few things that we can easily state is that the number of moles is equal to 1. So since we are talking about helium gas, so the value of gamma, that is going to be Cp by Cv, is going to be 5 by 3 since it is an example of a monoatomic gas. Now in this expression, the initially it was at P1 V1 mark, and it expands isothermally to volume 4 V1. So if I write the state points, that is initially it was P1 V1 mark, and finally it is going to P2 4 V1 mark, and the process is isothermal. So we can easily write the expression P1 V1 equal to P2 V2, that is P2 times of 4 V1, and we attain P2 is equal to P1 by 4. So now based on this we can easily write work done by the isothermal process. So work done in this isothermal process can be simply written as P1 V1 ln of V2 by V1. Since we are getting ln 4 and in this expression we have ln 2, so we are writing it as 2 to the power 2, and we are writing this expression as twice of P1 V1 ln 2. This becomes my equation number 1 for this particular problem. Now it is saying after this the gas expands adiabatically and its volume becomes 32 V1. So from this state point P2 4 V1, it is moving to the another state point. So I am doing it in this way, that from this state point P1 V1, it moved isothermally to P2 4 V1, and now from here it moves to another state point where the volume is 32 V1, and we are saying that the volume is equal to pressure is equal to P naught, and this process is adiabatic. So this process is adiabatic. So for adiabatic process we use the expression P1 V1 to the power gamma is equal to P2 V2 to the power gamma, and using this we are trying to find out P naught. So P2 we are using it as P1 by 4 times of 4 V1 to the power gamma, that is 5 by 3, is equal to P naught 32 V1 to the power gamma, that is 5 by 3. So this expression becomes expression A. That is, we are writing adiabatic process equation for this particular process, and on solving we attain P naught is equal to P1 by 128. So over here we attain P naught as P1 by 128. So now we will use the expression for work done in an adiabatic process. So work done in an adiabatic process can be simply written as P1 V1 minus P2 V2 by gamma minus 1. And if we calculate this, we will attain the value that is coming out to be P1 V1 so we are calculating it between these two state points, that is P2, which was equal to the expression that is P1 by 4 into 4 V1, that is P1 V1, and P naught 32 V1. So if we put this value we attain, this one is coming out to be P1 V1 minus P1 V1 by 4 upon gamma minus 1, that is 5 by 3 minus 1, that is equal to 2 by 3. So over here the expression is reduced to 9 P1 V1 by 8. Now according to the problem we have to calculate the ratio between the isothermal and adiabatic work done. So work done in isothermal process by work done in adiabatic process can be simply written as twice of P1 V1 ln 2 upon 9 times of P1 V1 by 8. and from here we attain the value that is equal to 16 by 9 times of ln2, which we are attaining as 1.78 ln2. So over here we are taking the answer as 1.78, because the problem is asking us to find this f. So f is turning out to be 1.78. Let us deal with the next problem. A stationary fork is in resonance with an air column in a pipe. If the tuning fork is moved with a speed of 2 meter per second in front of the open end of the pipe and parallel to it, the length of the pipe should be changed for the resonance to occur with the moving tuning fork. If the speed of the sound in air is 320 meter per second, we have to determine the smallest value of the percentage change required in the length of the pipe. So in this expression, as we hold a tuning fork of frequency f in front of an air column, so the length and the lambda of the air column can be related as lambda equal to L by 4 when no motion is taking place, and hence if we write the expression V is equal to F lambda, then we can write it as that F is equal to V upon 4 L1. So this becomes equation 1 for this particular problem. Now the interesting part over here is, if the tuning fork is moved with a speed 2 meter per second in front of the open end of pipe, so over here the problem is hinting towards Doppler effect. So now there will be a change in frequency, and the frequency perceived will be equal to the apparent frequency, and this apparent frequency will bring to a change in length of the air column. So if we calculate the value of apparent frequency, so the apparent frequency can be written as f 320 plus 0 upon 320 minus 2, which is going to be equal to V upon 4 L2, where L2 is the increased length of the pipe which will be needed to produce resonance. So this is the interesting part which must be kept in mind, that the problem is hinting towards resonance when it is talking about the relative motion between the tuning fork and the open end of the pipe. And hence now from these two expression I can say that F by V is equal to 320 minus 2 upon 320 1 by 4 L2, and I can write it as 1 by 4 L1 is equal to 318 by 320 into 1 by 4 L2, that is L1 and L2. We are obtaining a relation that L2 is equal to uh, 318 by 320 times of L1. So the change in length that is required, and hence the percentage change can be calculated. So the change in length is going to be 2L1 by 320, and the percentage change can be written as 2L1 by 320 by L1 into 100. So on solving we are attaining a value that is equal to 5 by 8, which is equal to 0.62. Now we are dealing with the last problem of this numerical type segment. A circular disk of radius r carries surface charge density sigma r equals sigma naught 1 minus r by r, where sigma naught is a constant and r is the distance from the center of the disk. Electric flux through a large spherical surface that encloses the charged disk completely is phi naught. Electric flux through another spherical surface Electric flux through another spherical surface of the radius r by 4 and concentric with the disk is phi. Then we have to find the ratio of phi naught upon phi. So in this particular problem, when the problem is stating that the complete disk is enclosed inside this particular sphere, so we begin like this, that the net flux that is going to be contributed is equal to the charge enclosed by epsilon naught. Now in order to calculate the charge enclosed, we are using the expression of sigma, which is given to us as sigma naught 1 minus r by r, is equal to dq upon dA. Now dA can be written over here as 2 pi r into dr, because it is talking about a disk. So at a distance r, if we select a patch on the disk, so we are selecting it as equal to 2 pi r into dr, and hence we get the expression dq is equal to sigma naught 1 minus r by r into 2 pi r of dr, and we are integrating it from 0 to capital R. So we are getting that the value of charge enclosed Q is turning out to be pi sigma naught r square by 3, and hence the value of phi naught can be written as pi sigma naught r square by 3 epsilon naught. So this becomes my equation number 1 for this particular problem. Now in the next part, the problem is stating the electric flux to the another spherical surface of radius r by 4 is phi. So now we need to calculate electric flux through this another radius r by 4. The only thing we need to change is the limit of integration. So this time we will be integrating from 0 to r by 4, and the expression over here will now be reduced to this way, that q enclosed this time will be written as 2 pi sigma naught integration of r dr minus 2 pi sigma naught by r integration of r square dr from 0 to r by 4. So we only need to change the limit of integration, that is from 0 to r by 4, and hence on solving this time we are attaining the value that is equal to pi sigma naught r square by 32 into 5 by 3, and hence the phi can be written as pi sigma naught r square upon 3 epsilon naught into 5 by 32. This is becoming equation number 2 for this particular problem. So if we calculate phi naught by 5, then we are attaining the value that is equal to 32 by 5, that is 6.40. So this is the answer for the last problem, and now we have come to an end of solving paper 1, and all the numerical type is solved in this particular segment.